Jungkook extended his hand towards Ryan, asking for a dance with her. She smirked at his action and nodded her head. He intertwined his fingers with hers and led her to the dance floor. Jungkook moved his body to the rhythm of the music, making her giggle. She giggled and looked at his handsome face. He smiled at her softly and stopped moving to look deep into her eyes. He cupped her cheeks in between his palms and kissed her nose softly. He answered and pecked her lips softly. Ryan blushed a little but smiled at the same time. Little did Ryan know Saga was burning in anger and jealousy. Saga looked at them and rolled her eyes. She muttered to herself angrily while walking out of the room in a hurry. Ryan looked at the direction where Saga was walking off and frowned her eyebrows. Jungkook shrugged his shoulders, making Ryan shake her head. He shook his head, smiling. He kissed her forehead and pulled her closer to his arms. Being rude, she got everyone's attention, making Ryan and Jungkook sigh. Everyone laughed except Ryan, who glared at Saga. She didn't like her comment. Jungkook chuckled and grabbed her hands, squeezing them lightly. She relaxed a little bit, knowing he wouldn't get upset. She whispered to him, but he heard it. He nodded his head at her, trying to show her he isn't angry. Jungkook didn't want her to worry. He wanted everything she wanted: happiness, respect, and love. He wanted her to enjoy every second of life without worrying about being judged by anyone. She announced dramatically. She smirked, looking at Jungkook and Ryan. Ryan looked at Jungkook, who wasn't still mad because he cared less about what other things or say. She said, grabbing his arm and dragging him to the table. Jungkook was taken aback little by her sudden action but followed her anyway. Jungkook tried to persuade her, making her frown at him. He assured her, smiling. Ryan huffed. She asked, Ryan, raising her eyebrows. Ryan looked at her with a straight face. She couldn't deny that it made her anxious. She asked, smirking widely. She stared, looking at Jungkook, who smirked at her. Saga turned serious and looked directly at her sister with hatred clear on her eyes. The expression was similar to the one she always wore when she had her temper and was irritated. Saga scoffed at her words and glared at her. She replied, glaring at her. Everyone else watched in surprise and shock, seeing how Vian was defending Jungkook. Jungkook held her hand and tried to stop her from getting in a scene in front of all the people. He shouted, Saga was really angry right now. She was about to slap her, but Jungkook held her hand. Jungkook yelled loudly, making everybody in the room flinch. Some were shocked. Everyone stared at them with a shock in their eyes. Jungkook's aura changed in rage. He was controlling himself for him, but if it was about his wife, he would have gone insane. He growled. Everybody looked at them with fear. Saga nodded her head immediately. She knew she had reached her limits. Jungkook was visibly relieved. He sat and pulled her out of the venue, leaving everybody stunned at the sight. Vian sighed. She looked at Jungkook, who was damn angry and looked so dangerous. It scared her. He looked at her coldly, and she understood he needed time. Once they reached home, Vian changed into a night dress and sat on the bed while Jungkook was in his study room. She was nervous and wanted to talk to him about everything. She exclaimed with shame, feeling horrible. She continued by playing with her fingers. She looked up at him, confused at his words. He walked towards her and sat beside her, placing his finger under her chin and lifted her eyes to up so she could face him. Her eyes started to water with tears slowly falling. She apologized, sobbing. Jungkook rubbed her cheek gently with his thumb. She murmured while looking down. Vian wiped her tears away and hugged him tightly. Jungkook rested her back soothingly and placed a kiss in her hair, making her smile. His heart warmed hearing her words. It was true she wasn't a selfish person and never thought about herself. She was always concerned about others' feelings, not hers. His heart swelled from the fact that she cares for him. He said with a soft voice, making her smile widely. Vine rested her head on his chest and wrapped her arms around his waist. They stared like this for a while till Ryan spoke. Junko smiled, hugging her even tighter. Once Ryan fell asleep, Junko looked at her lovingly. He rubbed his thumb on her cheek gently. He loved watching her sleep. He closed his eyes trying to fall asleep with her in his arms, but opened his eyes when he realized something. He took off his phone from the nightstand and typed the message. I want every single information about Min Hyon, and placed it back. Junko smiled at Ryan and pecked her lips softly before sleeping next to her.